you can see, we got the bottom of the plane completely covered now. I made my trims. When you cut the film from the plane, don't push too deep because you'll cut right through this foam very easily. And I just followed the outline of the firewall up here, and then I cut it off flush with the plastic piece for the tail assembly. And now this is ready for the next stage, which is going to be covering the side. And what I'll do again is I'll take the widest measurement, which is this right here, and I'll cut two straight pieces, one for each side. I'll cut them both at the same time, and then we'll go ahead and cover the side. Okay, we have our two pieces cut for the right and left side of the fuselage. Lay it on there, make sure it covers everything. Line your film up. There's a flat spot on the bottom here where the battery box rests. That's where I line this piece up. Make sure you have enough hanging over the front, and you also have to make sure that you have enough hanging over the tail, because you need to wrap it around this little angle right here. So you definitely want to make sure that you have enough hanging over there to wrap it around that angle, and enough up here. And again, you just need to go to this plastic piece for the firewall. And once you get it lined up and you make sure you got everything covered, then it's just a matter of tacking it down and going down again and securing this to the side of the fuselage. And then you'll come back with the X-Acto knife and you'll trim it to size, and then finish that off. As we start to cover the plane, I started at the nose. You'll notice that there's a curve right here. This is where the windshield is, and you'll have excess material. And the first thing you want to try and do is wrap that around, try and tack it down and melt it in there. And don't do that. What we'll do is we'll cut this away, and then we'll take the scrap pieces that we saved, and we'll make a piece. This will be done in two sections that'll cover it nice and evenly, and you won't get any wrinkles in it and stuff. But if you try and cover it this way, you'll have a heck of a time. So just leave that alone for now, and we'll cut that away and we'll fix that next. As you're covering this, you want to take your iron, start in the middle of the fuselage, and work your way out. This will keep wrinkles from showing up. If you start at one end and work your way to the other, it forces the material to one side. If you work down the middle, then you're forcing the material evenly to both sides, and you have a much better chance of working the wrinkles out. The other thing I do is at this point, I won't go and wrap the material around and glue it and tack it. Remember, we have to trim this off, and then at that point I'll wrap the material around and finish it off. But right now all you're concerned about is trying to get a nice even coating across this fuselage. And if you work from the middle out, you'll be able to work out all the wrinkles. And let the heat gun, let the iron do the work. You don't need to press very hard. Pressing any harder won't work, won't help you. It's not pressure activated, it's heat activated. So if you get a spot that has a wrinkle on it, if you have a spot that has a wrinkle in there that won't come out, one of two things: you can either pull the material back gently and work that wrinkle out, or you rest your iron on it. Now when I use my iron, I use this area for the most part, and this is a cooler part of the iron than this is down here. If I have a bad wrinkle, then I will rest the hotter part of the iron on that wrinkle and slowly work it out. Alright, with this side done, we cut this out, and you might have to make a couple slits. There's a slit right there, and then we also did a little slit up here to get that to lay flat, and that's fine because we're going to come back and we're going to cover this with another two pieces of film. The other thing is when you start covering over the other film, you might get bubbles in the in between the cover, in between the two pieces of film. If you do, just very lightly prick them, and then go back with your iron and reheat that, and those should flatten out. For the most part, you won't get that because you're not over covering large pieces of area, but when you do, you might get that. And then once you've pricked them, you just go back in with your iron and they disappear. Next thing we'll do is we'll cover this side, and then we'll come back and we'll cover this piece and do the front. Well, now we've got side, bottom, and the other side covered. Now we're just going to do the top. I went ahead and pre-covered where the wing saddle is, and also up here. So the next thing we'll do is we'll cut another piece to this width. We'll cover this back here to here, and then I'll show you how to cover this, because there's some compound curves in here. It makes it kind of tricky to cover, and there's a way to do it without getting any wrinkles in the material. Now that we've gotten the aft part of the fuselage covered, now it's time to do the forward part. And I just cut two separate pieces. This one's 1 inch, and we'll put that on like that. And then we'll put another one on like this, and we'll work those around. Where it curves right here is going to be the toughest part. You might have to heat your iron up a little bit more to stretch it around there, but it can be done without any creases whatsoever. So the first piece you want to do is down at the nose, and then the second piece you'll want to do is higher up. And just take your time, and it should go on without a problem. We got the first piece on, and it went across very nice. There's no wrinkles. If you do get wrinkles down here, it's not that big of a deal, as the cowling will cover this up to this line. So wrinkles down in here aren't that big of a deal. You just want to make sure that this right in through here is nice and smooth. Well, we got the fuselage completely covered. Got the nose area covered, sides, top, bottom. Plan on this taking you about 2 hours to do. Hardest part of this part of the plane is covering the cradle area for the back here for the wing, and this area up here where the windshield and cowling come together. Those are two of the toughest areas. Other than that, it's a very straightforward covering. Next, we will take a wing and we will cut out ailerons and show you how to install ailerons, hinges, servos, and then we'll cover the wing.